So hope everyone is back. Okay. So in inheritance, there will be a one parent class, and then there will be a child class. Okay. So what a child class will does, it will, so hope everyone can hear me and they can see my screen. Um, so they will acquire the properties of a parent class, and they can have their own properties in the child as well. Okay. So acquiring the properties of one class in another is called a inheritance. Can someone confirm that they can hear and see my screen?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, polymorphism. Next one is polymorphism. So doing a one operation in a different ways. Let's say you want to add the numbers. Okay, so let's say um, when you're trying to add the numbers, I written a one function which to add. That's it. So my thing was I will provide two parameters and I want to add. So what are the different ways I can do? So here I'm having int a and int b, and I have some values over here in int, and what I will do, and I will return a plus b. So I have written the a plus b as a function. Okay, fine. But it will always do 11 plus 23 only. It cannot do anything. So now I think so. It's fine, but I need another like addition only. But I want to add um I want to add this by passing a parameters so that I can add any number. So return a plus b. Okay, so that when I want to call this, how I will call, like I'm not doing everything here. Um, I will just call here as a 11 comma 23, so that it will result to me the addition once I call this. So here also in the in here also we do add. That's it. We don't pass any number here. So this is one method, and this is also one method. The method name is same. The parameters are different. And let's say I want to add three numbers now. So I want to add three numbers now. So what I will do? I'll do int a, int b, int c. So now I have a three parameters, and what I will written here, a plus b plus c. Okay, this is done. Next, when I call the method, so I will pass all this numbers. I can pass any numbers. So all these three are doing addition for me. Okay, doing the same operation in a different forms. One is like you directly do the operator there, and second you can pass two parameters, and third you passing three parameters. Like doing the same thing in a different forms or different functions is going to be a polymorphism. And again, there will be different concept under polymorphism called method overriding, parameter overriding. All things will be there. We'll see. Okay, doing same job. in different ways is what we call a polymorphism. And inheritance is binding all together, saying like name, variables, and functions together. Okay. So these are all high level. What and oops concept in the high level. Um, so we will just deep dive all this when going forward. And now, so before I proceed further, do you have any questions I want to answer? Okay, I consider we don't have a questions. Okay, now just I want to like cover have some time. So I want to cover some data types. So this is nowhere related to the class yet. Okay, so in the classes we need to give you different examples of writing a classes using all this. So in abstraction what we do, in encapsulation what we do, inheritance what we do, everything like we'll give some examples. So before that, if I give some intro about the data types, we can use it when we are writing all these classes. Okay, um fine. So if you remember, when we are covering out of box features, we create an object and we create a fields. So what are the different field types? There are so many, right? Like a text, long text, or like text areas, or a checkboxes, number, decimal, sorry, sorry, number, currency, or a percentages, or a pick list, multi-pick list. So all we have, right? So these are all the UI fields. Where in the front end you have different UI, and in the back end, when it stored in the database, there will be one data type that is going to be your data type. Let's say if you going to create text field in backend, what it's going to save there, it's going to save as a string field. If it is a long text, again string, text area, again string, text area long, again string. So all this, what are all you are saving as part of a text, it's going to save as a the data type as a string. Okay, now I want to the field I create as a number field. It's going to be a decimal in the backend. If you're going to save a currency, again decimal. If you're going to store a percentage, again a decimal. So when you have a decimal, you will be having a numerical part and a decimal part, right? So they will control what is the length of this and what is the length of that. So here in programming, all this will be in backend stored as a decimals only. But in programming, we have a different number parts. That is integer, where we don't have any decimal parts, and we call as a decimal that has which is having a numerical and a decimal part. And then what we have, sorry, double. So double means which is having a more length compared to integer and a decimal. And what else we having a check boxes, right? What check boxes actually it store, like either we can check or uncheck, but in a backend what we having is boolean. So boolean means where you can store only two values, either true or false. Maybe in the backend it will store 1 or 0, but in programming the boolean values will store a true or false values. Okay, so if I'm saying 1 and 0 in the backend, but we're not going to use it. So usually 1 means a true, 0 means a false. But just for knowledge purpose I'm sharing, so it's not nowhere we're going to use it. Okay, so we have a boolean, and what are others, different data types we can have. Date. So so if you want today's date, usually in the programming how we write as system dot today. So we write, so it will give the today's date. So so you have a date format. So what usually date format will have, like date, month, year. Okay, so that's what date type of format, and you can do a date operations like adding a months, adding a days, adding a years, and so if you have two dates, you can identify the range, how many days, how many um, years, how many months you can calculate when you're having a date variables, and you have a um, date time you have, and you have a time. All these are different data types. What else we usually have the possible. Okay, so if you say these are all called primitive data types. That means it does not depend on anything. It's come by its own. Okay, there is no combination. They are variables, and everyone um, know these data types. Like a string means we have all alphanumeric characters, integer, decimal, or double. It may be difference in whether you have decimal part or not. Either the length it will differ, but all you're going to store here as a numbers only, nothing else. Here it could be number or a text that you're going to store in the string. And here in this boolean we're going to have a true or false things, and here any kind of a date or time that we're going to store in this kind of variables. These are like everybody knows it, and most commonly we use them. So again, so this is a single type, right? The again we'll be having is a different type of data type, is an arrays. So arrays is, these are all like by default single variables. So when you calling a array, we'll be having same primitive data types, and just we'll make it as a array. That means two square boxes which define a array of it. So you can do array of any numbers. Okay, it could be decimal. For all we can do this array of all the primitive data types. I'm not just typing all everything, but how you do an array is you will take the data type, and then you will give it as an square brackets, which means an array. So here even you can mention the size of the array also. Like if you want to store five numbers, just if you give five, that doesn't mean like it's going to be 5-digit number. Okay, it's going to store a five double values in that array. Okay, if you don't declare, so when you assign, it will declare it dynamically. So if you define before itself, so you cannot add further. Like if you define some number here, I'm going the length of my string array is 4. So you can store only 4 strings in it. Okay, when you're declaring. Okay, this is array types. So primitive array types. So array is common, like it could be primitive or non-primitive. For everything, array can be declared in the same way. Okay, arrays, how it's going to be. Now, non-primitive data types. That means we can build our own data type by using this primitive data types. And as object data types. That is, so we're having first I will say like custom data types. So how we build a custom data types. Maybe I need to write a class, but there's no way like we can cover all in the same order because it have a interlinked each other. So let's say I want to have some a data type which is a combination of some data types. So I want to take string as a um, student name is my one variable, and then integer as a roll number, and then again integer as an age. So I want to store this class as a um, student info, let's say. So sorry. So what's having, this is going to be a one custom data type. So if I declare an object, let's say, so I will write a code in such a way that um, now student info. Oh, give me a second. Yeah. So student info is now one data type. So string where you can store the text values. Here you have numerical values. Here we already discussed. Similarly, when we have a student info as a data type, where we can store one string, one roll number, one age. So we have three properties for this data type. So once we have declared a student info as let's say st u1, let's say I've created one variable like this. So now how I can access this values, that is stu1 dot student name equal to I want to give him as a ram, and then stu1 dot roll number. So this is a number, so I don't want to give anything here. This is the roll number, and stu1 dot age is going to this age. So this is how I'm going to use. Here also I'm not giving an example, but if you assume same thing, string equal to, you can give a student name, and where you can assign, I will write symbol so that it will be easy. So if I want to use same thing in a primitive data types, I will give like a student name, as a rom. Then I need to declare another variable called a integer saying a roll number, and I have to give, so I'm trying to give same information, and then integer as a age is something called it one. So in a declarative type, if I want to use same thing here, but all three are different variables and they don't have any relation and they're not put together. So we have put in together, we have like hold these variables together and created a new custom data type. It's called non-primitive data types. And then how we have create variables and how we assign the data over here. Fine. Now we have seen how we're going to do this. So what are all the other data types? We have a S object data types. S object data types. So what are all S object data types? So you have to know how a Salesforce objects will be. Give me a second. So subject data. So we have object. It could be a standard object or it could be a custom object. So if you take some examples of standard object like account, contact, opportunity, lead, campaign, all these are like objects in Salesforce, right? So we can declare the variables of directly the object type. That is the account A. So what does it mean? So we have so many fields in account object, right? Account name, company, and there are so many fields in the account object. So you can use all the values like account name here. What is your account name? And what is your company name? I can give here. What is your address? You can give here. So here, what are all the data type of that field? So it depends on that how you give it here. Okay, same. So here I declaring the what is the variable, but in S object already you have declared oh, what is the variables or like what is the columns or what is the fields you have. All these columns is going to be a properties of your S object data types. Okay, if you want to make an array of it, how we do an array of it. So account array is how you say like yes, you say list, for example. So this is how we're going to declare array. If you want to declare the student info here, like student info, and you're going to store, let's say for example, some school, um, Chaitanya students, let's say. So you're going to declare the variable like that. So you will be capturing all the information of the students. So here I don't have any number that I defined here. So if you want to define like, how many students they are, you can give the number. Otherwise, there will be no limit. You can keep on adding it. If you decide the number itself, so only those number of records only you can create in that. Okay, and so that's how, or like those are all what are all the different data types. So we have primitive data types, all remaining are all non-primitive data types. In non-primitive data types, they are like custom class as a variable, sorry, custom class as a data type or as object data types. Okay, and we have arrays for all either primitive or custom non-primitive data types. You can have arrays of it. So far, any questions? So there will be a concept called how the memory will be allocated when we are declaring or when we are assigning the data. Um, just I follow some syntaxes, but there will be a concept called allocating the memory. When you have created a variable, so it will when it's executing or like it's getting compiled, it will it has to allocate some space for these variables. So the way it is allocating the space in the memory, that will be different how you're going to declare your variable or initialize your variable. That all we're going to see tomorrow. Okay, hope we are good here. um, I'm stopping the recording. If you have any questions, please do ask.